Oh, I should have foreseen this becoming an advertising center.
Prosperity and it's sharing some of that power. I believe that all people, white, black, IC1, IC2, IC3, HB source, I don't care, will have more. And you know, sir,
More what?
more rights, more prosperity, more
Isn't
justice.
rights is power. Why would a white man want to give away white power? Why would you want to do that?
You know, sir, you see
have
the world.
power, you can give
You
it away.
see the world
Why?
through a very, very narrow lens, and a
You have
growing
power. Why
proportion
you give it
of
away?
a growing proportion of the younger generation of the world. You just sound as if you're from another era. Okay? There are in this city today 300 languages are spoken.
Yes.
There are many schools
Yes.
where white British kids are
One
actually
world.
a numerical minority. And the
And so
only
what?
way our society has a future is if people live, work and thrive together
How many British
as
people did it take to run India?
a common
East India Company. How many British white people did it take to run the whole of India?
only a couple of hundred.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
minority doesn't mean minority in power.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't
but
mean less
sir,
power.
no, but sir,
You
the
see?
East India Company
Very
had
clever,
the-
this guy.
the
He's
East
very
India,
clever. See?
but sir,
These British people.
the East India Company,
Yes.
which had a couple of hundred people behind it, had behind it the military and naval supremacy of the British Empire.
That's right. White
Yeah.
power. And that's what he's got behind him.
Well,
You've
sir,
got white
as I-
power behind you.
As I have been saying to you ad nauseum, I believe, and I think you've heard me, I think you're just being a little bit mischievous, and you're playing to the camera. I'm saying that as we move forward, Britain and America and France and Russia and China have to give away some, not all of, some of their power to a global authority in which nations of Latin America, Asia and Africa share
Whoa.
some power. Sir, it's been an interesting experience speaking with you.
You mean what the UN was before it was corrupted by the Security
Hanover.
Council?
Thank you very much for listening.
Nice one. Another British shoulder arises. Look, watch this. More powerful still.
British offshore, age 78, I can tell them. You know, it's pantomime season coming up.
Do you think you can come a little bit closer to the old man's voice? Only, I've been coming here for 52 years, and I've been coming here because when I was young, I went round the world on a scooter, and it didn't quite the sense. When I was growing up, I never met a black face, none at all. And when I met my first ones, and they were American servicemen during the Second World War,
That's right.
I
Fighting the
realised
Germans.
that the world was a bit bigger than I thought it would be.
Right.
And I decided to go and explore a little bit. And I travelled overland to India, got a sailing boat to Africa, wandered extensively throughout Africa. And when I came back, I did see the world in a very, very different light. I realised that
British power was
nothing
amazing.
special about being British. Okay, yeah, we had been thought of as the lucky to have luckily born British because we won the first prize in the lottery of life. But
Of
it
course.
wasn't like that. I realised that we were part of a human race. I'd lived with people in India and in Africa who were literally starving.
No, you were part of the white race, not the human
You
race.
realise, well, you're the racist, not me.
No, the government, the British government is. This
You
British
displayed
government.
yourself as a racist from beginning to
I
end.
can't be. No, black people
But-
can't be racist.
Oh, a black person can't
Black
be a
people can't be
racist.
racist.
Oh, no,
That's
no,
official.
no. Well, black isn't a colour. It doesn't exist. No, the fact is, I met people who were wonderful folk, lovely folk, but they were starving. And it made me very concerned.
That's right. The British starved the Indians as well.
They weren't necessarily even unhappy.
Military
but
strategy.
They were starving.
Starve the
And I
people,
thought,
take the power.
what can be done about this? And it seemed to me we had to see ourselves as more than being French or British or Tanzanian, where it wasn't. We had to see ourselves as citizens of a global society and have some form of organisation of our global society to deal with global problems.
I agree.
Yeah. Because...
And who authorized?
And, pardon?
Who authorized?
The British.
No one authorised.
Yeah.
He's the power. That man there is power.
And
No!
English
there was-
white power.
But there was no... There was
Yeah.
United Nations, but there was no real power in the United Nations.
Well,
Because the English have
duh.
got it. The English have got the power.
The English got power. Well, that'd be wonderful to think. Sadly, it's not true.
English don't
I tell
have
you,
power.
when I began Speaker's Corner in 1960, it was to a purely white audience made up of British people.
Of course.
And we didn't have what we have now.
Yes.
300 languages spoken in London schools.
That's right.
We didn't have the multiracial grouping that we have now.
Multiracial. It
But
sounds good.
this is part of the world I live in. And we had someone here from Sydney. He's gone now, but I went
Yes,
to
that's
Sydney.
because you
And
colonized them.
in Sydney,
That's right.
you had the same thing. You think of Sydney being
You
a
brought-
whites-only country. It's not. Black, brown, white, mixing in the streets of Sydney quite happily, no problem.
Amigo,
And they all have
hello.
jobs. But this is the world in which we live.
Yeah, a white
No.
world.
People,
You colonized
Yes, she's British. She's not allowed
oh,
to
you're
have
so
opinions
bright.
about
You'll
such
be
things.
colonized. Oh, he's clever. He knows
Sounds
2 and 2
familiar.
make 4. But we've got a world
Even though he's saying
which
the
has
right
no
things.
control over those nations
He's still
who want to be
the oppressor.
bullied. At the moment, people are dying in Syria, and I don't see that there is any way of stopping it. The government has decided, the government represents a minority, and it's decided to turn the army's guns on the majority.
Who told you that the government represents the
I beg
minority?
your pardon, sir?
Who told you that the government represents the minority?
The government didn't tell me. I get it from the media. I watch the media of about 12 different countries, including Al Jazeera, Chinese radio, television, and Russian, and many others. Russian television will tell you the same story.
No, sir.
It isn't.
No.
I'm sorry, sir. It is the truth.
Let there be free elections there.
Pardon?
Let there be free elections. And
Oh,
we'll
there's
see
been
who
free
is-
elections.
Yeah.
There hasn't been free elections in Syria for a very, very long while. And they're not likely to be in the future. If you want to believe the load of garbage that Assad gives out, so be it. Maybe he paid the something for it. But no one
I'm
else,
not with him.
no one
I'm
else,
with the people.
no one else will believe it. And the trouble is, that when you have this murder happening on a daily basis, we're powerless to do anything about it.
But the others are killing as
Not
well.
the English.
Can I tell you,
English
you
aren't powerless.
know
No way.
where you are standing, you are on ground that has been the most blood-soaked in Britain. Here, murder happened every Sunday. There were far bigger crowds in the 18th and 19th century than there are today. And people came here, and some people were put back,
the other
they
guy
had
was
knives,
on, but I'm-
they would stab people, they would rob, and there were no policemen to deal with it. There was no policeman at all until 1829. And when the police appeared, at once the rate of murder here at Speaker's Corner went down.
Yes, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Now, our nation is now policed. Not necessarily well policed,
Yes.
but it is policed.
Yes.
And you won't see murder here. In days gone by, ladies would not come to Speaker's Corner on a Sunday. Only gentlemen, and sir, you would come with a sword by your side,
Yes.
or a dagger,
Exactly.
or a pistol.
Yes.
And are you armed today?
No,
You don't have a sword.
no, I don't.
Has anyone got a sword?
I have my credit card.
We come here so confident we're not going to be attacked.
Yes.
We are unarmed.
Yes,
I want to see a world in which we don't need to have large armies.
I agree entirely.
And we'll only have it when we have created a world police.
I agree again.
We don't have it at the moment.
But who's going to lead? Nobody's going to lead. 6
What
billion
about you,
people
sir?
will lead.
I'm saying that we need in the United Nations to have a second chamber.
United Nations is
Let me finish before you
Okay.
handle. I'm saying we need to have a second chamber, which is directly elected as a world parliament. And the parliament will represent the people, just as the General Assembly will represent the nation. and they will create institutions of government. In time, it won't happen instantly. We will have a police force which will deal with people like Assad. Until that time comes, we have no protection against the bully boys of the world. If a tin pot leader in any country wants to control the weapons and do what they like, do it. Now,
You have Interpol,
I'm
and
on your side here.
already.
Listen, this is a good bit now. Years ago, Britain was a colonial power, and we sent our
Because the Americans speak our language.
we sent our gunboats
He knows.
up Chinese rivers.
Our
Right there.
ancestors merely swapped the Union Jack with the stars and stripes.
Listen to me.
And sent in those dumb Americans into the Middle East.
We went to China and we sent our gunboats up their rivers and said, you either buy our drugs or we will shoot you, kill you. And we did.
That's not very British,
And
Mr.
we
Speaker.
were the bully boys of the world because we were the
Send
world's
in the
police.
black and tan.
No, we are not. We are not the world's policemen now. America really is the world's
Interpol,
Yes, I agree.
Europol, Interpol.
We are not the world's policemen now. We are not able to send our gunboats up anyone's.
I agree. No gun more, gun
Yeah, you know it. But the next world policeman will probably be the Chinese themselves.
I agree.
And are we happy to have one nation acting as a world policeman?
No.
We say no.
The
If police
British are.
come here,
The British are the
they
world
should
police.
be
No, they're
representative of all of us, and we should be able to control them. It is the only way civilized people can ever hope to live.
Yes, I agree.
And it must be created slowly. But the first step is to
done.
have a world parliament added to the United Nations.
It is done.
It's not done, sir. Is there anyone here from
Over there,
Germany?
British Parliament.
Sir,
That's the world government.
I'm sorry about your ignorance. We shall try to forgive it. Is there anyone here from Germany?
No, no. These people
Only
were over
the
one.
German Parliament has voted in favour of a world parliament. So has the Argentine Parliament, so have the Mercosur nations, so have the European Union, so have the African Union, and Canada has effectively done the same thing. One by one, countries are coming on board, but the real thing holding them back is, sorry, I don't want to be rude, but it's you. The common people aren't supporting the idea that we need a world parliament.
I agree.
That's why we are here, asking you to support it. Now, does anyone believe we should not have a world parliament, and say why? All this gentleman here says is about race, and I'm not really interested in his version of race.
It's not my version. It's a crown.
Oh, all right.
What would the role be? What would the role be?
British government.
The role of this
Fine, yeah.
world
This is
parliament.
white power.
What would be the role of the World Parliament?
Yes.
Sir, it would change over years. When the British Parliament started, it had very little power. It gradually took on power. And the role of the World Parliament ultimately would be to deal with world problems. For instance, nice day, but we have global warming as a real problem. Now, who do you think is going to solve all global problems?
Yes, it's not the Americans or the Chinese.
The Americans are.
The British.
Obama was not elected to deal with global warming.
I agree.
And nor was that nice Mr. Cameron in the White House, in the 1110 Downing Street. It's not their job.
Exactly.
We want someone whose job is to deal with global
I
warming
agree.
and the fish stocks of the world. We want someone whose job is to control the fish stocks of the world. It can't happen suddenly. The gentleman here will tell me, what are you going to do about Syria? But you see, a lot of problems can't be dealt with at the moment. They won't be dealt with for quite a while. But we'll come to it in time. And the World Parliament needs to begin in your lifetime, but it won't be until your grandchildren's lifetime that it really can have a truly meaningful effect.
By then,
I agree.
the Chinese would be the most powerful country in the world.
No chance.
Forget it.
No, but good. Maybe the Chinese will do a better job.
I think
than,
the Chinese
than the
are very,
Western
very
world has done
clever.
in the
I've been
last
in China and I was deeply impressed with what I saw. And the Chinese would make better masters maybe than the
Oh, you
Americans.
think so, do you?
I think the Americans,
You think so?
I know many maybe Americans, but
I
America
think you will
as
rue
a
the
world
day
policeman
when
has
the
been
Chinese
disastrous.
take over from the
Going
Americans.
into Vietnam, going into Iraq, going into Afghanistan have been disasters, in my view.
policy,
And
Mr.
I've said so from this stand right from the very beginning. Bad for America, bad for the world, and bad for those countries. But we want to have policing organised by someone who's been given the job by the people of the world.
You're living in a Garden of Eden here.
Carol,
It's a Garden of Eden mentality.
Carol, ask Daniel. Now, does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask?
Have you got a question? Like, what the hell is this all about? When
Yes,
is the
I have a
world
question.
peace?
Not gonna have one world government.
I'll vote for the monster raving loony
We're here for
party.
5
the other
minutes more.
candidate.
I'll take your question first,
Yeah.
then Mr.
Okay, well my question is, I agree entirely with what you say, with a one-world parliament is the only way we can deal with, anyway, the problems. I don't know, is it a question or a statement? My argument is, in fact, do you not believe this is happening already? Regardless, even if there is a political unity, forcing or whatever.
Arranged before
it's
we were
happening
born,
by
Mr.
nature.
Speaker.
Is it not happening already? Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yeah, I
right.
agree.
I mean, as I said earlier on,
Federal
my
Union,
audience,
Speaker.
50 years ago,
African Union, David Icke predicted that.
Look at you now.
Yes, which is good. Which is good.
You go to Oxford Street, you find about 20 different languages spoken. And I turn on my television, it's not just that people are dying of starvation in the other half of the world. I can watch them die of starvation.
Exactly.
You know,
This is probably the most globalized city in the world.
and we have knowledge, yes.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
is happening. And when one country has a problem with the money, all countries seem to have problems
I
with
agree.
the money.
I agree.
But, sir, we're now aware, and there are certain subtle changes happening, but they're reminding us we need to have political change to equal what is happening naturally. All over the world, aeroplanes are going and are leaking out the people of the world. There is, anyone come from Australia here?
Oh yeah, he's got white power.
Well, when I came from
White
Australia,
man, blue eyes.
it took 1 day to get from the farthest corner of the world to here. The world is 1 day
Mediterraneans,
wide.
I'm sorry.
I've written a book, I call it 1 day wide. That's all.
Blue-eyed white man
And
has the power.
we really do need to build up our institutions. And the first institution is to say, however proud we may be of our country, we should also accept we are citizens of one world.
I agree.
And we need to have a second chamber added to the United Nations, which is a world parliament.
I agree.
And it can be established by degrees. And until that happens, we are living in a very dangerous
I
planet.
agree entirely.
Now, our stand is closing down, but we come once a month, and by chance,
Why not?
by chance, we will also be here
He's a
next
joke.
week. So until then, I'll say goodbye and say thank you very much for your kind attention to what I've had to say.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'll beg your pardon. It's in Olympia Friday this evening.
I have a joke
Cool.
about
The other ones are just all religion, like
Yeah.
Jesus Christ is coming.
Well, they're good for a clip, just for the laugh, but
And I also got another group. There's what do you call it? There's the One World group. There's Jesus loves you, your parents don't. We're all about make-up rules. Cosmetics are power. It's the Pink Ladies. They were down there chanting.
I don't really get the point.
They're just like
Advertisers?
yes,
Ah.
yes, yes. They're cons.
I want
As a matter of fact, maybe the
These lesbians of today, they are not interested in going. That's why so many men are becoming we are living in a homosexual society.
You see, folks, you hear him? This is because of too much of the drink, too many cigarettes, and the rest of it we're still trying to figure out. Now, folks, Jesus gives life. Jesus changes hearts. Jesus is the Savior of the world. Jesus Christ can give our world true life and meaning. Without Jesus Christ, there is no truth shed in the mind. But you've got to desire Him. What do you desire today? Well, probably the new, I don't know, makeup or clothes. Yeah, I'm talking to you, lady.
I want a fancy
What's your favorite thing to do on this earth? Keep thinking, I'm waiting. This is a place of equal opportunity for women. Go ahead.
Oh, that's a bit anti-Bible, that is.
Keep quiet, honey. We'll get to you. He knows I give him
Why isn't
equal
the Saviour a
opportunity.
woman?
That's what I said. You're still trying to figure it out. Do you know what's your favorite thing to do on this earth? Besides being here, obviously. Smile? Is that your favorite? Am I seeing that? Let me see. Look at that. Her favorite thing to do on this earth is to be right here and smile. Now that right there is a good idea. Start practicing it. I can point at you all I want. If you don't like me pointing, go. Or go. Well, I hope so, because pointing is something that I do quite a bit. Because I know Jesus Christ. He died at the cross.
Weren't having that?
Huh?
Weren't having that?
Oh, I don't engage with that kind of shit. I mean, what? I should volunteer to help him out by talking to him? Why?
I tell you, if you want to enjoy sex and good life,
Go to Soho.
well, it's not blue, sir, although
Or Amsterdam. Apparently they do it there.
you're dirty. We are talking civilized things. We're not uncivilized.
The Dutch enjoy their sex. They're
No,
very
my
relaxed
friend,
about
they
sex.
don't need sex. They don't need sex.
They're more relaxed than the Germans.
Yes, very true. So, wo gehen Sie hin? Nur hier. Die beste Scheiße gibt es nur hier. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a true problem of today. That many women are not willing to cook anymore.
Shopping too much.
Shopping too much, spending too much money. Poor husband is going to work. Poor husband is working hard.
Straight
And
men
these
are wimps.
women are spending his money.
All straight men are wimps.
Twins. They know they said to me, yes. So I love twins, I love. So, ladies and gentlemen, these days, many women are becoming too lippy. Too lippy. Look at this lovely lady here. She doesn't know why she's walking this way. So, they are becoming too lippy. That's why many men are becoming speechless.
Scared.
Scared. We are all scared. That's why the rate of homosexuality is going up
Jesus
and
wanders
up
around
and
him.
up and up. This is the reality.
And
Am I right? Am I right?
She disagrees.
Do you understand? So, what was I talking about?
Sex. Your lack of it. Where's that nice little doggy of yours?
Because I didn't want to, honey.
No.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good question.
You know what I do like?
It's simple. First of all, you must stop educating them.
Barricade the bedroom and stay in there for a
Because
week.
if they become educated, they become too intelligent and too clever. And they never asking questions. They never stop asking questions then. And you can't answer. And that's what makes you impotent.
Thank you. Now the message.
Yeah. And that creates sex problem in the society. That's why keep women without education, and as soon she is mature to make babies, make her pregnant.
Shut up. God is not
Best thing to live in this world. And then you take another one, another one, so that you don't have shortage of wisdom. Am I right, darling?
Well, I'm done.
Am I right?
He seems
Yeah.
Who's out in here? Mark?
In costume. Preaching Mormonism. Hello! Chris, now we have to go and watch that. And
Teaching what? What was he teaching?
preaching Mormonism.
Mormonism.
But
Oh, I didn't know that.
he wasn't preaching, the way you're supposed to. He was preaching the actual secret stuff. Like about the planet Kolob. Hello! Why is this not obvious to anyone else?
Yeah, this is the problem.
Because, I got this camera.
I believe he's doing this not because he's from any religious. You know I'm not yeah, this man has kindly reminded me. Do not let my actions misguide you. Can anyone here take a guess where they think I am from?
Yes. Your Holiness. Here's the emissary from the church. My good friend.
Well, as I say, I do not make this speech here today as an Irish person. I can only tell you, I do not believe in that. Me, I believe in a one-world system. I believe we should head in that direction. I did not ask, although I wasn't born in Ireland, I was raised in Ireland. But I can only tell you, I did not ask to be raised in Ireland. I did not ask to be born in this country. These things are entirely out of my hand. I have to do with what I was dealt with. If I was born in a predominantly Islamic country, chances are that more than likely I would be a practicing Muslim. If I was born in a Christian country, the chances are that I would be more than likely a practicing Christian. So in fact, I can only say to you today, although I was brought up as a Catholic, a Roman Catholic, I denounce Roman Catholicism for myself. If there are any Catholics here, knock yourself out. Or in fact any other religion for that matter. But me, personally, as we move on into the millennium, the two greatest threats I see to mankind in general are A, nationalism, and B, organised religion. As we move on into the future, I am seeing stirring, very heartening evidence that mankind now, not only in the first world, but in the second and the third, mankind is progressing in a positive direction. I see, if you look today at democracy, never has democracy been challenged today. With 4,000-year history, no other system of government has challenged it head on. The only alternatives are, or briefly, we had the Soviet Union, its reign of 90 years, pales in comparison to the 4,000 years democracy has. I can also make it an example. I can make the example of also religious states, which I believe are backwards and mentally handicap mankind's progression in a positive direction. the only governmental institution that is growing as I speak today is democracy. All else are failing. Communism is failing. Religious states are failing. China is not a communist state. It is a capitalist state.
A hybrid.
Democracy is the only form of government that is actually spreading as I make this speech. And the reason I believe that it is spreading is not because the Christians, the Muslims, the Jews are ramming it down people's throats, not because the Republicans and the Democrats in America are giving people the butts of automatic weapons to institutionalize them into democracy, or likewise anyone from the Eastern Bloc. The reason democracy is spreading is because all people of the world recognize a good thing when they see it. Democracy is obviously the only reasonable form of government for everyone to have their say and for the best argument to win. It is the only and obvious form of government as we move on to the future. And I believe mankind is not stupid. Everybody in the world is not stupid. They are intelligent. When they see a good thing, they will act upon it. That's why I believe democracy is spreading as I make it speech today. Religious, repressed countries, I believe, belong back with the Neanderthals. It cannot bring any form, I believe myself, it restricts medical advances, social advances, scientific advances. This is the way forward. I believe today, I am proud to make this speech here today from a first world Western democracy. I make this speech here today from London, probably the most globalised, multicultural city on the face of this earth, which I think is fantastic. I say bring in 10 million more immigrants, not enough of them, more, I say. Not only that, but I believe any person coming from a religiously repressed state emigrating into this country is by de facto has got effectively is better than winning the lottery. Because British people and people in the Western world, I know Americans do the same thing, they knock their own country. But I have to say, I am proud of this country's achievements. I am proud, yes, to a degree. I'm a rationalist. I do not believe that I will see a one world order in my lifetime. In fact, I don't want to see it. I hope it takes 1,000 years, 10,000. I don't care. I just want humanity to move in that direction. But I believe, as I make this speech, that this country has made a fantastic contribution towards globalization and towards humanity since 1945. Because I believe there are two Britons. We had our past colonial Britain, which was obviously wrong. Colonialism, there's no place for it. It is obviously a deformed sense of government or aspiration to colonize far. I agree. I agree with the statement the man is making. Yes, colonialism is still today, but it is not being driven by Britain per se. America, I believe, is the greatest colonial power as I make this speech. Yes, I agree. But he answers to Brick further. When not within living memory, that was in reverse. Remember, Britain, within living memory, was the foremost colonial power. And that is why I make this speech after 1945. Up to 1945, I believe Britain was basically immoral in the sense that it was forming a global empire, repressing people's rights to have their own cultures and traditions. However, I believe if you look at the statistics, if you ask me who lost the Second World War, I would say Britain, and especially colonial Britain, lost the Second World War. Remember, Britain, going into the Second World War, was the most powerful economically and military power on the face of the earth. Not 5 years later, it was broke, it had lost its empire. But I believe it gained its morality. And after 1945, this country turned the corner, put away colonialism, nationalism, put it to bed where it belongs, in the past, with the Dark Ages. No place in the future for mankind in general. And from 1945 to date, I believe this country has made a fantastic contribution to globalization, to social sciences, to popular culture, to peace and tolerance, the gay right movements that we've got in this country, liberalism. I believe this country has been an advocate of these things, which are great. I think it's a fantastic and long as I say, I'm making this speech from arguably the most globalised country on the face of this earth. Statistically speaking, Britain is arguably the most globalised nation. And this is why I am an advocate of globalisation. Yes, globalisation has its qualms. No doubt it hollows out some cultures, some small pockets of cultures. Yes, their cultures will not survive globalisation. But if that is the price to be paid for mankind to make it into the next millennium, I would gladly do it. As I make this speech, English, Spanish, and I think Mandarin, I was corrected here a couple of weeks ago in Speaker's Corner, are fighting for the first global language of the world. I will gladly learn Mandarin if that's what it takes for mankind to make it into the next one. I would gladly learn Spanish. I would gladly adopt the Spanish culture if that's what it takes for mankind to move into the next millennium. As I say, I believe nationalism belongs in the past. The reason I say that, I can only come from my own personal experience. A lot of people call me Irish, although I don't believe it myself. A lot of people say, practically ram it down my throat, that I'm Irish. So, for argument's sake, yes. But I can tell you today that, yes, I grew up in a country that speaks English, is the predominant language. Only 5% of Ireland's population actually speaks Gaelic, which is the indigenous language, up to 2,000 years ago when the Celts brought Gaelic from France to Ireland. And I can tell you that the scientists tell us, and I have no reason to believe otherwise, that 250,000 years before that, the Africans came out of Africa and went to France. And I've known. So if you ask me where I'm from, I was born in Guildford, Surrey, UK. I was brought up in Ireland, and the scientists tell me that my great ancestors, so on to infinity, came out of Africa 250,000 years ago. So make up your own minds where I'm from. I believe I am from planet Earth. Planet Earth. Full stop. I believe I have as much right to live, work in Africa, my ancestral homeland, than I do as in this country. Moreover, I believe that is happening as I speak, through globalization. As I made my point about globalization, no other country but Britain can a foreign nation with capital come in and buy the infrastructure like we can in this country. I can tell you now that the Chinese are in talks to buy the M1 in this country that was built in 1956. The Chinese, within my lifetime, will own the M1. Why? Because simply, from what I understand, the Conservatives are looking for foreign investors to invest in Britain's current